Lil, thank you for submitting your draft for me to take a look at. I've gone through it and I've highlighted some things I want to talk about with you, and hopefully that can help you better understand what to do, and hopefully it helps you write a better review. So let's start. The film takes us back to the summer of 1974 in Venice. Now, in this case, I added a comma because when you have a city and then a state, you have to separate them with a comma. In a small area known as Dogtown, with a group of 16-year-old skaters reinventing modern skateboarding. I highlighted reinventing because it would indicate that modern skateboarding was already there, then lost, and they're bringing it back. I think that they are inventing modern skateboarding as opposed to reinventing it. So that might be something you want to consider. The next sentence, although it's okay, I think you could reword to something like this. Catherine Hardwicke's 2005 film, The Lords of Dogtown, is an American teen drama based on the true retelling of events as written by one of the original Zephyr boys, Stacy Peralta. Now, Zephyr, make sure you spell that right. Take a look at that. And in this case, you should have a comma after boys and then put Stacy Peralta. I highlight the next item because it's the 3 out of 12 in particular. I don't know if you need the out of 12. I think you could just have the film follows 3 of the Z boys. Z should be capitalized, comma, the troubled Jay Adams, show off Tony, not Tom, Tony Alva, and the responsible and introspective Stacy Peralta. The Z boys, again, capital Z, were managed by the perpetually drunk, and then I added in surf shop owner Skip Engblom. Make sure that you know what the spelling is because it's Eng, E-N-G, Blom. The boys' new modern skateboarding tricks transform them from social outcasts to overnight sensations. Okay, that part's fine. The next paragraph is paragraph 2 in the review. So continue summary of the movie, being careful not to give away details that reveal the ending. That's not something that you do. What you do is that you go right into a conflict. You're setting up the analysis right away. So one of the main conflicts occur in the movie, the Z-Boy team splitting up. So we have as your topic sentence, a sentence about conflict. But right away afterwards, you have the movie was very entertaining to watch. The film showed the audience the authenticity of the real world. That has nothing to do with the main conflict. So either you have to reword this or rework this whole paragraph so it has to do with conflict, or get rid of this sentence as the opening. I highlighted authenticity of the real world. I'm not sure what you mean there. I know what each word means, but the authenticity of the real world, I'm not really sure. So that may be something you want to reconsider. The 70s film wasn't stereotypical as all other surfboard and skateboarding movies. You have to tell me why. Maybe make reference to another surfing or skateboarding movie and show how this is different. If you don't, I don't know if you can say this 70s film wasn't stereotypical because there's nothing to base that against. I also highlight rebellious and relaxing. I don't know if something can be rebellious and relaxing at the same time. There is no doubt that the boys are rebellious. I don't know about the relaxing part. So that may be something for you to consider. In the film, Stacy was seen as the protagonist and more mature than the other boys. Fine. Stacy had a job and didn't spend as much time with the boys. The fact that he had a car could be something there that you could add as well. This aspect of Stacy might be biased. Again, this may be a negative that could go into the next paragraph. Let's stay on the positives at this particular point. Now, as we look at the positives, you want to talk about the characters, which you've just done it with Stacy. The plot. Does the plot make sense? I would suggest this is a plot about the teenagers dealing with success in skateboarding, which is considered a bit of a rebellious activity, and that would be shown by the going into the backyards of people who had emptied out their pools. There is something very, I don't know if illegal, but not right about that. The setting, you talk about that a little bit. Maybe you could talk a bit more. Don't know if there's much we could say about the director, but SWAT codes, definitely. The technical aspects. Are scenes in proper lighting? Are the clothes that they are wearing appropriate for the 1970s? The haircuts, even. The technical aspects of it, the audio, was the music appropriate that went on? What about the symbolism that takes place? Again, this is the empty swimming pools could be there, the long hair of some of the guys. Why was that symbolic? Just a couple of ideas. You don't have to talk about all of them, but just as examples. As we continue on, he could have, no contractions in a formal writing. You want to spell it out, could have. This could make us favor Stacy, favor with an O-U-R. We are in Australia. And feel bad for him. I don't know if we want to feel bad for Stacy, but we want to be empathetic with Stacy in this case. So your choice of words or your vocabulary at this point is something to be considerate of. Lords of Dogtown was a pleasant film to watch. I don't know if pleasant is the correct term to use here. Hopefully it's more than pleasant. So I want you to think about that word and what could actually be replaced with it. And again, this part here at the end, I think we need to be a little more detailed, especially as we're looking at this part of the review. All right, so on to the next paragraph. We're looking at the negative aspects of the movie, and you were getting into the disrespect of Stacy. Now, I can understand why you see that as negative, but I actually looked at as something that's positive, because that's the relationships, and that's what the movie does a good job of, is showing how Stacy is not one of the boys, as you mentioned here. When it comes to the negative aspects, the idea of Stacy being the writer and maybe portraying himself in a more positive light, or trying to elicit the emotion of sympathy for Stacy's character more, maybe a negative of the movie, because Stacy certainly does come across as the good boy in this, and maybe that may not be the truth. I think that could be something you could bring up. Also, what else was negative in the movie? Something that you did not like in the movie. There was a couple of things that I could think of that I didn't like. Maybe the language that was used at times, or some of the situations. If this is a movie targeted at a teen audience, maybe some of this material that was presented wasn't appropriate for that particular target audience. That's the idea of negative aspects. Now, if you can also bring this into SWOT codes, giving examples as always of specifics, SWOT codes, any errors in the plot or things that you didn't really believe in the plot. This is the place to talk about that. Now, the next paragraph, if we look down here, focus on the characters and making the movie either good or bad. This would be a place where you can talk about the relationships between the characters in the movie. Making sure that you provide examples, and if you can provide any quotations that would reinforce your examples, that would be great. This would also be an opportunity for you to mention some of the secondary characters that are important in the movie. A secondary character, for example, could be Jay's mom. I thought she did, the actress who played her did a really good job of helping to portray setting and mood. I think that would be something you could talk about. And there's other secondary characters as well. Maybe you could talk about the young kid who becomes ill, or the other guys who work in the surf shop, or the surfers at the beginning of the movie who come and go throughout. Some of them are bad cats. Jay ends up hanging out with a few of those towards the end. Maybe that's something you could talk about, and how they make the movie more realistic for you, the viewer, or less realistic for you, the viewer. And finally, the conclusion. We want to summarize your overall view, which is great. Now, legendary Zed Boys here. Legendary, I think we need a capital L because this is a name. Capital Z for the Zed Boys. The film's plot was nice and relaxed. Nice is too neutral, a neutral positive term. I would come up with something stronger than that. Relaxing, we talked about earlier. I don't know if you can really say this was relaxing. I've crossed this part out because I don't think you need it. The movie is without doubt worth watching, seeing the history of, instead of skating, skateboarding, and the changes it went through, full stop. Everyone. Now, is this a movie for everyone, or is a particular target audience? This is something that you need to discuss and emphasize. Now, the final thing, you should maybe give it, or you should give it a rating out of 1 to 5. This would be the opportunity at the end. Rate the movie out of 5 stars. Otherwise, good job. You're almost there. Do watch for spelling. Do watch for capitalization. Do watch for things like, I've just seen here, Dogtown. Dogtown is a place, so it needs to be capitalized, and it's one word. So a few things to look out for, but all in all, Lily, good job. And we'll talk about it in class on Monday. Cheers.